Hey, hey, hey! Welcome to this week's installment of our Live Focus Mini. This week is on the booty time, woohoo! So if you're watching, say hello, and if you're watching on replay, give me #replay. So I mentioned last week that this is kind of my new time for my lives, at least for now. Mondays at 11:30, kind of an awkward time, but I'm going to keep going with it for now because it's when I have the time. So I'm going to do a short and sweet little class today on how your booty affects the rest of your body. So if you have low back pain, chances are there's a booty component, something with the glutes. Also, chances are if you have low back pain, there is a hamstring component. The hamstrings are the muscles that run down the back of your leg. Now, the hamstrings originate on your sit bones. So most of you know what your sit bones are, your ischial tuberosities. They are the bones that you feel when you're sitting, sometimes referred to as the sits bones or the sitting bones. So your hamstrings, hello, I see someone jumping on there. Hi there. Say hello if you so wish. So we're talking about the booty today and how it affects the rest of the body. So the hamstring muscles originate at the sit bone. Now, the glutes, one of the largest muscle groups in the body, right? The glutes like to, over time, from gravity and mostly sitting a lot, the glutes like to kind of slide down the booty a little bit. And when that happens, they get stuck on your hamstring origins, the tendons of your hamstrings. When that happens, a whole slew of other things begin to happen. It starts to put you into a perpetual tuck position. I'll show you this on Skelly and on my body in a second. But as the glutes slide down, they start to get stuck onto your hamstrings, and it puts you in almost like a tucked position. You know, the whole idea of, I'm not going to use the old-fashioned term for this, but there's an idea of you get a certain kind of butt if you sit in a chair for a long time. And there's certain professions that sit in a chair for a long time. And so I've heard some fairly derogatory terms about certain kinds of butts that come from sitting for a long time. Those glutes sliding down, they get glued onto your hamstrings. Now let's talk about what this does to the rest of your body. So if your glutes are disengaged or underengaged, or even overengaged, that can be the case as well, they can get stuck on your hamstring muscles. So when that happens, and this big muscle group here slides down and it gets stuck on this muscle group here, what it does is it starts to tuck your pelvis under. And when your pelvis, let me back up so you can see better. When your pelvis is tucked under in this way, you have no choice but to compensate, or else you're just going to fall over, right? So you have to compensate your spine. So a lot of times you go into something like this to kind of compensate for that extreme flatness going on here. Sometimes we compensate by bringing our weight into our toes, like really far forwards, because otherwise, again, if you're in this constant state of tuck, your weight's more on your back heels and you're going to fall backwards. So a lot of compensations happen by bringing your weight into the toes or the balls of the feet, and it just creates a ricochet pattern of all kinds of imbalances in your body. So let me show you here on Skelly what I'm kind of talking about with these muscle groups getting glued together. So here's all your glutes. I'm not going to break it down. We have the glute max, glute med, glute min. It's all right here basically, right? So what happens is it starts to slide down. Here's your sit bones, your ischial tuberosities. This is where your hamstrings originate. These glutes slide down and they get totally stuck on here. They get totally glued to this. And again, that sends you into a sort of tucked position, which will absolutely create low back pain. So one of the first things we do when there's low back pain is we free the hamstring muscles from the sit bones and the glutes, and I'm going to show you how to do that today. Now, a little bonus in this, I'm not thinking of this or marketing this as a a booty lift per se, but this will lift your booty, okay? So if you have noticed when you look at yourself from the side that your booty is a little flatter than maybe you would prefer, one of the reasons is probably that they're glued to the hamstring muscles and probably not activating and working as much as they could be. So in fact, if you're like me and you've taken a look at your profile more than once, you might notice that one side of your booty looks different than your other side. That's really true for me. I have one side that's flatter than the other side. That's the tighter side where it just, those muscles they've not worked as well as they could. They've gotten stuck on the hamstrings. They're tight. By tight, I mean they're sticky. But they're underworked, they're underdeveloped because they've been pulled down for so long. So one of the ways we can start to undo all that patterning is just to peel apart the glutes from the hamstrings, lift those glutes back up, and then you can actually start to engage them and recruit them in the way that you're meant to. So I'm going to show you just a super quick and easy thing that you can do. You can use any Yamana ball for this. So I oftentimes will actually do this first with a larger size, like a pearl or a silver, and then I'll switch to a black ball because I like the specificity of the black ball. I don't even know what I'm going to use today. I guess it just depends on what's back there. But any ball that you have, whether it's silver, gold, pearl, or black, or if you happen to have one of the advanced navy ones or even the sea glass ones, those will work for this too. So first things first. Actually, one more time, I just want to show you real quick on Skelly. So in order to start to get into the glutes, first we have to get the hamstring tendons out of the way. So what we're going to do, if you've ever taken one single class with me, you've done this. We're going to circle the sit bone, and we're going to go both directions, and we're going to start to free those hamstrings. That's the first step, and then we'll start to free the glutes. So we're basically going to peel apart glutes and hamstrings like this, okay? So here we go. Go ahead and place your ball. It doesn't matter which side you do first. The one thing I want to make sure that you do, or you do not do rather, is do not put your weight right on your tailbone. So you can see my tailbone's right here at the center. Here's a sit bone, here's a sit bone. The ball is off to the side. I'm using my other foot as a kickstand so that I don't just tip right off the ball. Okay, so I just want to be careful and be really clear to you, anyone watching, that you're not going to put your weight right on your tailbone. We're working on the supported sit bone, okay? So I'm not going to spend a ton of time on the sit bone because I want to get into the glutes, but I want you to begin to circle that bone. Now, the image that I always use, and again, if you've taken a class with me, you've heard me say this a bajillion times, the image that I like to use is a clock face. So you are circling the sit bone, and you're trying to hit every single number on the clock, if you imagine your sit bone as a clock. So there's going to be certain numbers that are more difficult than others, okay? You're going to find that there's certain numbers that you are tempted to skip over. This is a sign that you're not using that range of motion in your day-to-day life as well. So a few times, maybe 5 or 6 circles, and then you're going to reverse your direction. If this is your very first time doing this, this might feel very choppy. It might not feel fluid. It might not feel round. It might feel painful. Those are all normal reactions. So a few times both ways. And then we're going to come back to that bone. We're going to come right back to our starting point. We're going to take a breath in here. And as you exhale, sink your weight heavier. So you're really dropping your weight down. And at the bottom of that exhale, you're going to scoot your body backwards. So now, instead of being actually on that bone, now you're in front of the sit bone. Okay, so now you have this little overhang, right? This little booty overhang right here. So you're in front of the sit bone now, which immediately increases the intensity because you're now in your hamstring tendons. You're no longer on a bone. You're in the joint, the space between the bones, and this is where the tendons live. This is a very intense place for most of us. So you might feel this down your leg, into your knee, perhaps all the way down into your feet. Now, what you can do in order to not grip, because as soon as you go into that more intense spot, what happens is your quads on top go, oh, that's intense, I'm gonna help, I'm gonna protect, and they start to grip. And what happens then is you start to resist the ball, push against the ball. We don't wanna push against the ball. We wanna invite the ball in. So instead of gripping, place your hand right on top of where the ball is, press down. Oh, that's more intense at first, but if you breathe into it, it gets less intense. So as you're pressing down, you're inviting the ball up into this space. It's making its way through the soft tissue layers, working its way into the space. Sit bone goes this way, thigh bone goes this way. We are trying to widen that space. Now, once you've been here for a bit, I'm going more quickly than I would typically do probably, just because I want to make sure I get both sides in before I have to leave you today. So you can keep your hand here and you can do what we call cross fibering. So this is a little horizontal action here. So I'm intersecting the vertical muscle fibers. In this case, the fibers run vertically from my sit bone to my knee, and I am intersecting them. So this is a pretty basic, typical thing that we do in almost every class. We start with this to get to the booty lift, because we could try the booty lift without this first precursor, probably wouldn't be as effective. Okay, so now I'm cross fibering, I'm feeling the tendons, I'm feeling some speed bumps in there. Again, I'm trying not to tighten, trying not to resist the ball, rather I want to invite the ball in. Okay, now here we go with the booty lift. So you're in front of that sit bone. Again, like I said, you have this overhang, your butt's hanging over, right? You're gonna grab your butt with your hand. You're going to grab a handful of butt, okay? I'll show it a little bit from the back too. You're going to take a good clump there. This is your muscle, your flesh, your fat, everything. You're going to grab a handful of that, and then you're going to pull yourself back onto your sit bone. Notice how this traps my fingers, okay? So my fingers are now sort of stuck between my glutes and the ball. I'm going to free my fingers, and I'm left with that overhang that was hanging over before. Now it's already been pushed up and lifted up a little bit. So I have this kind of mound or this mass of flesh right here. Now we're going to work to peel that mound up. So this is mostly glute. Like I said, there's flesh and fat involved as well, but we're really focusing on the glute. So I've got that nice mass ready to be lifted from the hamstrings. Now I'm going to bend both my knees here. Trying to keep my feet in basically the same plane. I'm going to keep a neutral pelvis here. And what I mean by that is that I'm not going to tuck my pelvis or tilt my pelvis. So if you imagine that your sit bones are flashlights or headlights, you don't want those lights to flash or point forward or backward. You want them to point straight down. So my headlights are pointing straight down, and I'm going to keep them there. This is essentially a neutral pelvis. Okay, so if you were on your back, there would be a little curve to your low back. This is what, in any movement practice that you may do, if they talk about a neutral pelvis, this is what they mean. So, as I'm going to start to work my sit bones for the floor, I'm keeping the neutral pelvis. I'm keeping my headlights shining on the floor. As I work towards the floor, the ball is peeling, lifting my glute muscles away from my hamstrings. Eventually, I'm on the floor. So what I've done was I've peeled apart the two muscle masses, right? Now, if I remove that ball, I'm left with a really wide feeling base. So I've only done one side, but I feel like this sit bone on this side is a little wider. This one feels like it's kind of tucked under a little bit. No doubt it's being pulled under by my glute hamstring adhesion here. So what we're going to do is, actually I normally do this more than once, so I'm just going to show it real quick one more time. I like to do it at least 3-4 times. So again, the ball's in front of the sit bone. I grab the booty, pull myself back up onto the ball. Fingertips are trapped. I free them. I'm left with that mass of booty. I'm going to keep my pelvis neutral by keeping my sit bones, my headlights, shining directly for the floor. So again, I'm not tilting, I'm not tucking, I'm neutral. Slowly working my way to the floor. You can literally see it lifting up. I always get the image in my mind of a push-up pop, like this orange sherbet push-up pops. Everything's lifting as a unit, as a mass. And again, look at that freedom that I have. Okay, and chances are my leg is longer on this side too. Quote unquote longer, let's see. Yeah. So this side, you probably can't see that from where you are, but I just did my left leg. I freed up all of the space here, and now my leg is able to drop out of my hip joint longer. So it actually, my heel is a good, like, about a centimeter on this side in front of my other side. So if I were to walk around now like this without doing both sides, I'd be really lopsided. So I don't recommend that. Always do both sides. Okay, so let's try the other side. So those of you that would be watching on replay, let me know after you've done just one side. Did you see a difference between the two sides? Did you see a difference? Did you feel a difference? Let me know in the comments. Okay, so other side. Once again, I am not on my tailbone. I'm definitely off to the side. Tailbone's here, sit bone's here. I've got my ball side leg long, and my other leg is kickstanding to balance me. Okay, so I'm going to start by circling. So I'm letting my weight drop. I'm sinking into this. I'm just going to fix this so the top of my head is not cut off for the whole rest of the video. Okay, so you're circling, you're breathing, you're sinking your weight into the ball. Make sure you do at least 5 circles, really trying to hit all the numbers on your clock face, and then reversing your direction. It doesn't matter which direction you go first. So you're really just trying to hit all of those points. Notice which numbers are tempting or maybe even impossible to roll into. Chances are there's going to be some. For me, it's usually the inner ones. Right now I'm feeling it at 7, 8-ish, a little bit harder to get into. After you've done both directions, and again, I'm going a little more quickly than I would typically recommend. Check in with your leg, make sure it's nice and relaxed. I call it the jiggle test. Make sure that you don't have any brick action going on. You want it to be nice and soft. Big inhale. As you exhale, sinking straight down, scooching back, ball rolls off sit bone into the joint, and this is the back of your hip joint. This is the space between your thigh bone and your sit bone. Immediately gets more intense, right? Because you've left the bone, you're now in the joint, you're now in the place where the hamstring tendons live. As soon as you roll into the soft tissue, you feel that reaction. The other end, right? This is one end of it where the ball is. You're going to feel it in the other end of the same muscle. You might feel it beyond that too. So what do you do in order to not grip or resist? You use your hand, you press down. See, I was just gripping a little bit and it kind of locked my knee. As soon as I pushed down, I was reminded I don't have to do that. My knee softened. And again, I'm going to intersect the muscle fibers here. So these are vertical muscles. We always work origin to insertion, but along the way, we can horizontally intersect these fibers, and that's how we start to peel apart the adhesions. As you roll through the fibers, it starts to separate them. So after you've done this a few times, reach back, grab your overhang, grab your mound booty, lift it up. You're getting a big handful here. Pull yourself back onto the ball. Free your fingertips. You're left with a bit of booty there, okay? Now, back to neutral pelvis. Let your knees bend. I find this is just a little easier with bent knees. You could try it straight too. I think it's easier with bent knees. So again, where's your pelvis? Is it neutral? Where are your headlights? Are they pointing forward? Are they pointing behind you? Hopefully not. Hopefully they're pointing straight down. Keep that mass of glute there, or I should say glutes. There's kind of a lot going on there. And starting to work your way, sit bones to the floor, ball peels the glutes up. It's peeling the glutes away from the hamstring tendons. Once you've reached the floor, you should really feel full access of your sit bone to the floor, right? You can really feel the sit bone very closely connected now to the floor. That feels pretty good. Like I said, I usually do 3 or 4 times. So let's do it one last time on this side. Now you can play with variations of this. I'm having you go right sort of smack dab up the middle, but you could work more glute med, glute min on the sort of outside edge. You could go into more of a diagonal and do this. But I just wanted to show you the basic one today. So again, ball in front of the sit bone. So just to be really clear about that, here I'm on my sit bone. Here I'm in front of my sit bone. This is where I'm in the actual joint, just to be super clear about that. Hand on the top of the thigh, pressing down, encouraging the ball to come up through the layers of the soft tissue, of the muscles, fascia, and tendons, and into the space, into the joint. And cross-fibering as needed, grabbing your booty, pulling yourself back up. Neutral spine, working your way down. Feel the ball, lifting, 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 lifting. And eventually, you're all the way down. Stretch those legs out. Let's see now. Okay, much better. So now my feet, instead of looking like this, now they're more like this. So this is a super quick thing that you can do really anytime. Like this took me, what, we're at minute 20, but that was just an explanation. So you can do it way faster than that. One last thing I'll show you is how you can kind of do this in a chair. So if you're at work and you have your black pair with you, I'll show it from the side first. You place one ball each in front of, you can see I'm in front of my sit bone there. You can kind of reach back, lift up on each side. So I'm back to that same feeling of that massive booty back there, right? Ball is gonna lift them up. Then get yourself onto your seat, your chair seat. Probably you'd have it back here as well if you're in a chair, most likely. But, and of course my legs would be in a different position if I was in a chair. But I'm actively feeling this lifting happening, even though I'm not doing anything at all, except I just have the balls wedged there. So let me show you what that looks like from the side. So just a little bit in front, reaching back here. So you could totally be sitting, working at your desk and lifting your booty at the same time. Now, like I said, this will give your booty a look of being lifted, but that's not really the reason that I personally think it's good. I personally think it's necessary for freeing your pelvis so that when you stand, your pelvis is not being pulled under, your legs are not stuck on your hip joints and on the sit bones. The legs are able to freely swing in the hip joint, and your spine is able to freely sort of undulate and stack upward instead of being pulled down. So if the glutes are stuck on the hamstrings, it pulls the legs up, it pulls the back down. So that's sort of like your ground zero, like your center of your body, right? So you want to make sure that is free. Once your pelvis is free of your sit bones, then other stuff can really start to reorganize pretty well. So, does anyone have any questions? I see somebody watching there. If you have a question, let me know. And if you don't, and if it's someone watching on replay, definitely let me know because I will answer it after the fact. So let me know how that went for you. Let me know if you saw a difference between the two sides halfway through. And if you have any questions, hit me up. Thanks for being here today. I'll see you next Monday, same time, same place, 11:30 Eastern time. And we're going to keep going with that for a bit. Have a good day, everyone. Thanks.